We are wondering why you had all the water.
Oh, sorry. I just can't get in after I do it,
That's
so.
right, we'll leave them over here.
I just-
Okay, so you have to go to the backups.
Yeah.
I have a okay, I printed it.
It's 5:30.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the planning committee meeting. It is 5:30 PM on February 3rd. We will begin with roll call. Don Davenport, Mark Ducey,
I'm here.
Sean Kennedy,
Here?
Michelle Boudreau here. If you please stand, Mark will lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we are going to begin with an update on the regional agreement in discussion.
Thank you. I'm referring to this version of the agreement. They all have certain names to help me keep track of them. I'm referring to this one as the version of the agreement after the decision was made to enter into the core program. It reflects the changes that were discussed, or the intentions that were discussed when the two select boards and school committee directed us to enter into the core program for the middle school. And so all of those changes occur just on page 6, and just in 3 sections. So everything else you've seen before. Directing you to section C on page 6. We had added the language before, except in the case of schools which all students from grades from both member towns, as described in section 4D of this
I'm
agreement.
lost. Where are we, page 6?
Page 6, part C.
Part C.
I see paragraph C.
Yep, paragraph C.
Okay. Capital cost of, projects at a cost of $35,000.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I was just reading through this section that was struck.
Oh,
That was language that was added to this agreement in anticipation of some kind of a cost-sharing agreement for the Wilbraham Middle School, which is referenced in the next section. So this change just brings it back to what it said before. So the language would be capital costs for projects in excess of $35,000 for leased schools shall be the responsibility of the towns in accordance with the terms of the lease. So essentially, this is a change just to keep it the same, get rid of what we were talking about before. Section D, paragraph D, is the new language that we had been working on for a year plus, trying to work out some kind of cost share agreement. So that is now eliminated as well. And the difference is in paragraph E, make the
What's that section?
Excuse me, folks.
the cost sharing for schools in which all students from both schools attend and are owned by the region are beyond just Minnechaga. So right now, this is written for Minnechaga. It's specific to grades 9 through 12. It says you have a school owned by the district where everybody goes to school, that the cost sharing is based on the foundation enrollment for grades 9 through 12. What this change would say is the grades served by that property. So it means in 9 through, for Minnechaga, it would still be 9 through 12. In the event there was another school that served whatever grades, it would be based, the cost sharing for that school would be based on the foundation enrollment of students from the 2 towns in the grades served by that
does
school.
it predicate, the property has to be owned by the district?
Yes.
I haven't read through it, so.
The first part is capital cost of district-owned equipment and properties. And so that's it. So I did run this by Sean just to see if it made sense to him. He felt that it did. You know, if this is language that's agreeable to the towns and to the school committee, our next step would be to run just these 3 changes back through our colleagues at DESI to see what they think, and then, you know, possibly move forward to finalizing this and everything else that we've put together over the course of this long odyssey.
And so, let me play a little devil's advocate. If the core program were not accepted into it, or it doesn't get approved at the town level, then the town of Wilbraham, then nothing's changed from perspective of capital costs.
That's correct. I don't think that's devil's advocate, that's what this says. So it says, you have town-owned buildings, we do what we have been doing.
I have to chew on that, I'm not sure if that's acceptable to Wilbraham. I'm speaking for myself only.
Sure.
Because why would I enter into that agreement? Why would we change it?
Well, if I want to give you an argument, I would say.
I wanna hear it, yeah.
Sure. I would say that it gives you the possibility of having a situation where costs are shared. Without any change, the costs remain 100% in Wilbraham.
And so,
With no possibility.
and so this gets
of sharing.
ratified, it gets put into place, the
Yeah.
core program gets turned down.
Right.
What are our options at that point? From a Wilbraham perspective?
Well, you could, if you're talking about a cost-sharing agreement, you could look to other modifications of the regional agreement. However, you know, we've been in this place for a long time because I would say that cost-sharing in the current building has some significant political headwinds in Hampton.
Why do we have to say it has to be district-owned equipment and properties?
We couldn't get any traction on. I know Wilbraham liked it, but Hampton did not.
But we're also attempting to enter into this core program now. I'm not sure it's a slam dunk, right? I think it needs to be done. I'm not saying anything other than that. But at the same time, it still has to get past the voters. So, I mean, whether or not that happens, I don't know. I don't know the dynamics, frankly, what it'll be next year, which is when we're probably gonna be looking to it. And I certainly don't know what it is in Hampton.
And we don't even know if we'll be accepted to the core program, so there's that too.
Even a better point, yes. So, I mean, there's a lot there, there's a lot of hills to climb there.
Right.
So, let's say we get approved by the core program.
Yep.
But they say we don't wanna renovate Wilbraham Middle School. We wanna build a new one on this property out here. And we don't wanna maybe just do a middle school, we wanna do a maybe grade 3 through 12 or something like that, okay? Because we have K and 1 at Mile Tree, and that's just
Right.
too great, right? Well, then that would be no issue, because Hamden and Wilbraham would just pay proportional, right? Because it'll be owned by us, because it's on land that's already owned by us, by the district. Right, so that wouldn't be an issue even with this language.
With the language I'm proposing, it wouldn't be an issue.
Right. Now, let's say they say, no, we don't want to do that. Let's say that we want to improve Wilbraham Middle School. Isn't that the same argument that Hamden's been saying all along? You're gonna be improving the middle school, but Wilbraham will be benefiting from those if, say, we decide to go to a regional
I can't speak
school or
for
something.
I can't speak for the Wilbraham Select Board. I suspect we would be open to turning over the building at that point. Maybe not the property, but the building.
Okay.
I'm speaking for myself only, all right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know I would be open to that discussion.
Mhm.
Because if we're gonna put tens of millions of dollars,
Mhm.
probably underestimating it, then I don't think, I would only think it would be fair. But
And
there's
this,
a lot there to unpack still, so I don't wanna get too far ahead of myself, but I'm open to that discussion.
and this is an eventuality that this language is trying to make open. Because what will happen, what we learned from our meeting with the MSBA is, if we are accepted into the core program, any kind of cost sharing that they'll expect will be whatever in our regional agreement. So we will wanna have an agreement that permits cost sharing or requires cost sharing, or else we'll have another problem.
So, all right, I don't wanna get too far ahead of myself, we'll stick to this at the time being. I have questions around exactly some of the issues you raised.
Yep.
No, have it. Bring it up.
If the building is owned by the town of Wilbraham, who votes on it for the core program? Does Hampton have a say in the vote at that point? Because they don't own the building yet.
I think that,
It's a great
Oh,
question,
wow.
a great question,
Oh, I
isn't
see
it,
what
Mark?
you're saying.
yeah,
I mean, chicken or the egg? I mean,
So, does the district pay the MSBA, or does the town pay the MSBA?
the district
I think
does,
it's
but
that-
it's, the district
No.
does, it's just like Minichog would be, I think.
are you talking about like for the feasibility study?
No, I'm talking, let's say we get approved, they're gonna give us $100 million or
Before you even
something
get-
like
Before you
that.
even get to the build, construction, you got the feasibility study. Who
Right.
pays for that? Does Hamden pay for that?
Good time.
A portion of it?
I think that is a discussion that needs to be had, but I think.
I raise these
the regional
questions now because
agreement
they're
is-
big questions.
I think the
No,
regional
yeah.
agreement is going to guide it, you know?
But it's not a district-owned building at that point. And we just ratified it. Why should I pay it if I'm Hamden? It
Yeah,
doesn't say I gotta pay that.
without Hampton
And so
and
maybe
Wilbraham
you go back
agreeing
to-
on it and agreeing on, like, yes, we will together partner on this,
They
then
can't,
we're gonna have to build
the
our
only way
own.
you can get agreement is at town meeting.
Yeah,
And that can change from town meeting to town meeting. So I think the notion of making this, maybe, going back to the original version might be better.
The original version
Well, I
didn't
mean-
have support. So
Well,
that's why that we stalled.
I'm not sure this has support either. This has not been discussed at the Wilbraham Select Board level, so it's been a while since we've had any conversations around this. But you understand what the concern is, because it says here, capital cost of the district-owned equipment
Yeah.
and properties, none of that pertains to the middle school at the time we're gonna be asking for feasibility study. So now it defers to the town of Wilbraham. And I don't think the town of Wilbraham is gonna be looking to pay for that 100%.
So would you be looking for some language that, I don't know if it would be in the regional agreement or maybe a side letter or something like
I
that,
don't know how, yeah, I'm not an
That's
attorney, so I don't know what kind of
Right.
options we would have there.
that says, you know, consistent with the votes taken by the select boards for the school to enter the core program, in the event that the district is accepted to the core program, this is how we want to handle the finances of the feasibility study and the eventual structure, whatever it is and wherever it lines up.
I will raise this to Nick and maybe he can get, this is not a question for me to answer, because I think that's a legal question that needs to get resolved. I can't speak to what would be legal and what would not be legal.
Can you quickly review the timeline for when we would hear back?
So
Because
we,
I think that will help dictate
Right.
some of this other.
So we're working on the statement of interest now, it's due in the late spring. We'll find out whether or not we're accepted to the core program around December of 26 or January of 27.
A year from now, basically,
Yeah.
9 months from now, yeah.
If we're accepted into the core program, then we have a period of time, I believe it may be 90 days, maybe longer than that,
yeah.
to get funding for feasibility study,
90 days.
and that's a reimbursable expense.
It'll probably be the same time that we just had for the accelerated repair program just now, that we declined, that we opted out of. And I think we were gonna be able to get to town meeting to ask for those votes.
Correct.
So we'll have
And that
some.
was with even earlier notification.
Right,
So let's say you're doing, funding for the feasibility study at the fall town meeting,
no, I would think you'd be doing it at the annual town.
I'm sorry, right, the annual town meeting, stand corrected. Then feasibility study, I imagine that's probably gonna take you through to the next town meeting,
And then
Where
you
you
do the
have-
full
right,
debt
right.
exclusion.
right? Where you have an idea what the project is, what
Yes.
the cost is going to be,
Yeah.
what the reimbursement rate's gonna be, and then it's funding for the whole project.
It's basically the same timeline as we had for the accelerated program, just a year later.
And doing the work takes longer too.
Of course,
Well, the feasibility study takes,
it's more,
adds a
it's
year,
more
and
comprehensive,
then
yeah.
doing the
Yeah.
work takes longer.
So what do you want me to do with this? I mean, you want, I can go back to the select board and ask what their take is. I think there's gonna be some legal questions that we're gonna need to get some guidance on. I mean, if we just do a memorandum of understanding between the two towns, would that suffice? I don't know that. It might. I'm not saying it won't, but I certainly would need to get some guidance on that before I would accept that. And if it doesn't, then this, frankly, this paragraph to me is problematic.
I'm just gonna throw it out there, I haven't worked it all out in my head, but I'd rather say it and have every mind working on it, but what if this is something that we take out of, say, petty cash or something like that, I'm not, E&D from the HWRC's budget to fund the feasibility study? Yes,
That'll be
it's 80%,
millions.
it's
That'd be $1 million.
Huh?
That'd be $1 million.
For the feasibility study?
Yeah,
Easily,
yeah,
probably more.
yeah.
Oh, I was thinking it was more 200, 300.
No, that's for the accelerated repair feasibility study.
All right, I'm sorry, yep.
If you wanna pay for it, feel free.
Let's just hear your thought though.
No, I'm
Let's say
sorry.
let's say there
No,
was a source of funding,
So yes, so let's say there's a source of funding, we have $1 million that we can go and we can pay for this. Now, that's something the school committee can just pay for, it's not even something that has to go before the towns, right? Even though it is an 80-20 split where we get our money from, right? But this isn't something in theory that we could just spend.
you could do it two ways. If you had the cash on hand, which you don't, but if you had the cash on hand, you could do that. If you didn't, you could borrow for it.
But then
And the
that goes
towns-
before, I mean, I don't
Well,
mind
the
it going
towns-
before the towns, let
The
me tell you
towns,
that.
the towns could
I don't
let you
mind.
do that without, I mean, essentially, if the towns don't call a town meeting to,
Right.
raise the question of borrowing, then you have permission to do it. However, just pragmatically, I personally
Yeah.
think it would make sense to have the issue of feasibility study go before the towns,
Yeah.
because at the end of that, you're going to have a project, and you wanna have some sense of whether the towns are gonna have
I was just
an
saying that,
appetite for the project.
I was just saying that that would be we spend it rather than the towns having to say, Hampton having to say, oh, we gotta come up with 20% for the for Wilbraham and stuff. That's what I was thinking, but I wasn't thinking $1 million, and that maybe we shouldn't even enter into this program. And look out for another option, because we've been going a couple of years now with this, and Hampton and Wilbraham have not changed their mind about this.
Well, that's
They
not
are-
true. That's not true. I think
Yeah?
we have, I think the towns have changed their mind.
Yeah.
If we, in fact, we can get into the core program and do a major renovation and/or new building, which, if we get into the core program, I think there is a mindset of we will share that building and we will share those costs. But the question is, how do you get into the program as we're trying to amend all this?
Being our only Hampden resident, do you think if we
Well,
came...
there's a lot of residents in Hampton besides her.
No, at the table right now, you know, what do you think from, you know, you're pretty plugged into the community, you're pretty plugged into administration over there. Is this something that you think that they would embrace? Or is this something that you think that this would be an issue that they would want to put forward money for the feasibility study?
I think if we are accepted into the core program, I think I'm sure it's not unanimous,
Right.
across every resident, but I think there's support.
Yeah. So, and then we wouldn't have to spend once we get accepted into the core program, then we do the feasibility study,
Mhm.
right? So that would be it's not like we have to do the feasibility study and then submit it to get accepted into the core program.
Correct.
And the feasibility study is reimbursable.
Right.
So you figure 50 cents, 60 cents on the dollar.
Although you do have to appropriate the full fund.
Understand, you have to come up with the
Yeah,
money first,
yeah,
yes.
So let's work on getting into the program, and then we get.
But we have this to tackle first.
It sounds like what you're saying is, just to try to summarize, it's kind of an amorphous concept, but what you're looking for personally, not speaking for anyone else, what you're looking for is some kind of instrument that deals with the middle school during this in-between phase, where we're moving towards core program, we don't know if we're accepted or not. And there's that year, even if we are, when you're in the feasibility study, something that takes care of that.
In-between phase doesn't scare me as much as, what if it doesn't passes? That's what scares me more, because now we have an agreement that hasn't changed, that we've just revised, and Wilbraham is still 100% on the hook for all repairs. That's the part that scares me. The in-between phase is a little bit, that's not the level of discomfort. My level of discomfort is beyond that if this doesn't pass town meeting. And if we can't complete the core program, then we've made no progress. Oh, no progress is not the right word, but you know what I'm getting at. From a financial perspective and Wilbraham's perspective.
Let's say our friends in Wilbraham decide to give us the building of Wilbraham Middle School. This is just total conjecture, right? For $1. Okay? Is that something that the school committee can accept or deny? Is that something that has to be voted on by both towns to accept that, or?
Well, I would say it would have to be voted on by both towns for this reason. It would be a change to the regional agreement.
Gotcha, okay.
It would certainly need to be voted on by Wilbraham to give up the property.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Whether or not Hamden would need to vote to accept it, I don't know that, but.
No, he's right, we have to change this agreement to show that we now.
But that's a separate vote than, that's a separate vote. We would need to vote on it and designate it, I don't wanna say we designate it as surplus property, we need to somehow designate it that we're gonna give this to the school district. And I think that's a totally distinct vote compared to this.
Well, don't they both have, you need both. You need, let's say, a vote to surplus it by, I guess, the select board, I think they're
Right.
the owners.
The select board would vote on it, but it would have to approve the town meeting.
Right.
And then you'd also need a revised agreement to be approved at that same meeting.
Yeah,
in
you could
both
do it on the
towns in
same-
order for the district to be able to accept the building.
Okay.
Yeah, but first we need to know if it passes or not. If it passes, then we can do the second vote, if it doesn't.
So you just take
pass-
no action on it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Not really, I mean, this.
I'm just trying to, I'm just a little concerned about what if, and I will reach out to Nick, I'll share this with him, maybe he can talk to the attorney, figure out how we can, maybe, like I said, a memorandum of understanding would work, or some facsimile of that, right, some agreement, side agreement.
Because you're saying that E here basically puts you on the hook if for some reason they say we don't wanna change the agreement, we don't want it.
If the core program doesn't pass, for whatever reason, if we don't go into the core program, then none of this applies.
Right, but it doesn't hurt you though, does it?
Doesn't hurt us, but it doesn't gain anything, any of the problem, any of the struggles we have right now with this, where we're bearing 100% of the capital costs.
Well, neither does the current agreement.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but it doesn't, I think we're looking to go into a new agreement where those costs are, because we're not gonna reopen this agreement again, hopefully anytime in the near future. So if this thing, you
I
know,
think we are next year.
Do you think that this uncertainty and these issues mean that we really should be pushing for a separate one on the property that we already have here in Wilbraham?
I
Would
don't
that
think
make it
that
easier?
matters. I don't think the location matters, because you
Yeah.
still have the same issue.
I don't wanna
Let's say the school committee says, we wanna build a whatever school, we want it to be on this property. You still have to change the regional agreement,
Right,
and that brings up all the rest of the issues.
I don't wanna push for anything, I wanna let this process work.
right.
I don't wanna be saying, here's what our preference is, I don't wanna do any of that.
I'm just,
And I'm speaking for myself again, to me, the process, let the process take place. And if we can renovate it, and it's the best option, then that's what we should do. I mean, let's not further burden the taxpayer. Seems like a common theme.
that's what I'm not saying to burden the taxpayer, I'm just saying, just to see if this agreement holds up with, if one option or another, and what are the issues, but you're right, it's gonna be the same issues with the towns. So, instead of solving that in this agreement, they might be able to solve it in an inter-town memorandum or something of understanding.
So maybe that's the next step.
Yep, so I think that causes us.
Do
What's the
we
timeline
need to
on
be a
all this?
part of that memorandum of understanding or not?
I think just having, if you're speaking to Nick, I think just getting some feedback, maybe from, see what they have to say, and then if we have to follow up with Camden in any sort of way.
Mhm.
But, you know, we were talking about the possibility of being on both Springtown warrants, and that date is quickly approaching as to when we would have to have our warrant article in.
Let me just recap that for a minute, I wanna make sure I'm clear. So the the matter before the attorney should be, if we approve this language in paragraph D, or E, I should say,
Yeah,
then, who would vote on the feasibility study? How would those costs be shared? Could we have a memorandum of understanding around that? To share those costs and to share that vote,
Mhm.
is that right? Is that,
That's whatever you're
okay.
saying.
I just wanna make sure clear, okay. I'm sorry.
So I think once we get a little bit of information, some feedback on those issues and questions, we can come back together, so hopefully we'll have them quickly. Because the warrant articles in Hampton are due on by March 1st.
Ours will be a little bit later than that. I don't know if you need to have the warrant article prepared by then.
Okay.
Ours will be, I think it's mid-March, I think we were targeting more mid-March, we haven't voted on that yet. But
Okay,
we've closed it for petition articles, but this would be a petition articles.
okay.
But it's coming soon, I would say in the next 6 weeks, we need to be
Mhm.
in lockstep if you're gonna have a warrant article or not.
Okay,
And I think the wording of that warrant article doesn't need to necessarily be
Correct.
solidified by then,
correct.
but it needs to be at least, you know, structurally there,
Mhm. Okay.
conceptually.
So we will need to meet again. So I guess what we'll do is we can send an email out just to get everyone's availability, just for the next couple of weeks. Because I know we have February break is in a few weeks, so that week is out. So depending on when we'll get your availability first. We'll put a placeholder on the calendar for those if possible, if that works for everybody. So then we already have it scheduled and we'll have to worry about that. And then as soon as we get a response back, then we can confirm the meeting date. Does that work?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think it would be helpful to, just in timeline, keeping it moving along,
Mhm.
if, I mean, we can't, obviously, and I certainly can't tell the towns what to do, but involving Hamden in those discussions, because I think this is really if it's an MOA, it's between the towns, and knowing whether or not they have an appetite for that before the next meeting of this would be helpful.
Mhm. Yeah, part of that conversation, yeah.
I will send Nick an email tomorrow, probably, or maybe tonight. I'll copy you and I, John.
Sure.
And if you guys wanna talk, I mean, talk. I mean, don't necessarily talk through me. I mean, you know, or have Doug or whomever you need to do, I mean,
Do you think it would be helpful for us to maybe go to bi-weekly meetings or something like that until we present? You know, whether we need it or not, we could always cancel a meeting, but it's.
That's what we're doing, we're gonna put a meeting on the books for every single week.
Great,
Yeah,
perfect.
and then they'll just be placeholders, so just know that there's a potential for that meeting to happen.
Right,
And then we'll
Yeah.
cancel as needed.
perfect.
That's it?
Do we have anything else?
Yep, anything? May I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
second.
Okay, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay,
Nope.
we're adjourned 6 o'clock.
How's the heat in Silverwood?
It's cold. I mean,
What's the problem?
heat exchanger on one of the boilers.
So are you guys fixing it, or what are we doing?
The heat exchanger is
I was surprised it didn't
slowly
come last
making,
night.